So this episode picked up where the last one left off, where Marsh and Tesehki start fighting at rehearsals, and I'm surprised at the things that people are saying when it comes to this fight between Marsh and Tesehki, because some people are saying that they feel like Marsh gave Tesehki a run for her money and that she really kept up with Tesehki, and honestly, I'm sorry, but I did not see Marsh keep up with Tesehki. Tesehki had Marsh swimming in last week's episode when they were fighting with each other. I'm not gonna say that Tesehki just dog walked Marsh like she did the first time the two of them fought, because she didn't. Marsh definitely held her own a little bit better than she did the first time they fought. But to say that Marsh really kept up with Tesehki or that she won the fight between the two of them is honestly an overstatement for me. I just feel like that's people wanting Tesehki to lose a fight so badly, because for some reason on this show, when you're a good fighter, people want to see you lose really bad. The reason why Tesehki ended up on the floor, which is the reason why people are saying that, Marsh won the fight, is because Tesehki slipped on the floor. Tesehki slipped because she was wearing socks, and she slipped when she pulled Marsh down to the floor too. And even when Marsh technically had the upper hand on Tesehki, because we know that she fell on the floor, Marsh still didn't take over the fight because she was trying to stomp on Tesehki's head and she missed her every time. And at one point when Marsh was attempting to stomp on Tesehki's head, Rolly was running over there to try to break it up because she didn't want to let that happen, and Chrisean was basically telling Rolly not to go over there and break it up, and she was basically cheering on Marsh to stomp on Tesehki's head. And I'm sorry, I thought that was weird. I don't care if me and my sister don't get along, I'm never gonna cheer for somebody to stomp on their head. Like, that was weird to me that Chrisean was cheering that on. And then on top of that, how are you gonna try to hug Tesehki afterwards, but you were just cheering on your friend stomping on her head? That doesn't make any sense to me. Either Chrisean is against fighting or she's for it. And at one point when the fight was broken up, Tesehki and Chrisean start going back and forth, and Tesehki starts calling Chrisean a hater and telling her that she needs to run it. So basically, Tesehki was calling Chrisean out for a fight, and Chrisean basically waved it off, so that means that she doesn't want to fight Tesehki. I know everybody keeps saying that they don't want to see two sisters fight, and I don't want to see two sisters fight with each other either, but at the end of the day, maybe they do need to fight so we can stop seeing the two of them go back and forth every episode, because honestly, this went on for like 20 minutes of the episode and it was really annoying. At one point, Marsh started yelling things out to Tesehki, telling her that her lip was bleeding because there was some blood coming from Tesehki's mouth. It wasn't like a lot of blood, but I definitely saw a little bit of blood in her mouth. That doesn't mean she lost though, which for some reason, people feel like if you bleed anywhere during a fight, that means that you lost, and that's not true. At one point, Tesehki did realize that Marsh was standing right next to her, and so she turned around and she just punched Marsh right in the face. So they start fighting with each other, and Marsh was definitely swimming for the first part of this fight, and then she started pulling on Tesehki's hair and she would not let go, so she was able to kind of get the fight to stop at that point once she grabbed onto Tesehki's hair. Marsh and Tesehki end up fighting one more round, which I was glad about because I was ready for this whole situation between Marsh, Tesehki, and Chrisean to be done and over with, but they square up with each other, and this time I can see where people are saying that Marsh didn't do bad fighting Tesehki because she handled herself well this time around, but she didn't really do much to Tesehki in this fight, and neither did Tesehki. But at one point, Tesehki did sling Marsh to the floor. And just when you think this whole situation would be done and over with, Chrisean and Tesehki start arguing with each other once again. Chrisean's crying and she's trying to hug Tesehki. Tesehki's trying to push Chrisean away from her. They're yelling back and forth. It was honestly annoying. I felt like they spent way too much time on this situation in this episode. There's no reason why this one situation should have taken 20 minutes of the episode. Natalie ends up showing up, and Chrisean's trying to tell Natalie what happened, and Chrisean and Tesehki start throwing things at each other, and then Chrisean eventually ends up asking Tesehki to fight. Tesehki ignores her. She doesn't want to fight her. It's clear that neither one of them really want to fight each other, but I thought it was weird that now Chrisean was asking Tesehki to fight. When Tesehki asked her to fight earlier in the episode, she said she didn't want to. Natalie was also confused as to why Marsh was even at the rehearsals, because she's not a part of the cast and she wasn't going to be performing, so she didn't understand why she was there. I mean, I didn't really know why Marsh was there either, other than the fact that Chrisean wants her to be there. I mean, maybe Lemmy gave her permission to bring Marsh there for some drama, and that's exactly what he got, but I just feel like this was going on for too long. The funny part of this argument between Chrisean and Tesehki was the part where Chrisean started pointing out that the other girls on the cast are afraid of Tesehki, and that's why they don't call her out, and that she's the one that's not afraid of Tesehki. And Tesehki literally asked all the girls if they were afraid of her, and they all said that they were not afraid of her, and we know that that's a lie. We know that most of the girls on this cast try really hard to stay on her good side because they don't want to fight her. And Summer, knowing that she's one of the girls that does not want to fight Tesehki because she was running from her a few episodes ago, decided that she was going to get involved in this issue that Tesehki has with Marsh. At one point, Marsh was sitting down next to Summer, and Tesehki tried to run over there and hit her. And, Summer ends up grabbing Marsh and telling Tesehki that she needs to take the L and that she lost the fight to Marsh. And it's like, girl, we know you're being delusional because you don't like Tesehki. Because anybody who watched that fight between Marsh and Tesehki knows that Marsh barely kept up. Now, Chrisean decides that she's going to be done filming Baddies for the rest of the season, which I think is crazy because I feel like there was really no point in her coming on the show to just argue with Tesehki and slap DJ Sky and then be done. I just feel like they only been to one city so far and she's already leaving. Based on the way that these girls were acting at rehearsal, though, I'm kind of nervous to see them actually do their performances because it didn't seem like they got any rehearsing done because there was a lot of arguments that happened even after Tesehki and Marsh stopped fighting. Because at first, Natalie was saying that she thought that maybe Ahna should be the one to open the show because everybody else raps and Ahna is a singer, and that's when Summer immediately chimes in and says that she doesn't think that Ahna should go first, and she said that she would go first, and then she said that Ahna can't sing and that she only uses her voice to suck. Fill in the blank because I'm not going to finish what she said, but she said that to Ahna, and then Ahna all of a sudden just chucks the microphone at Summer's head and it knocks her right in the back of the head. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was funny because I didn't think that she was going to actually hit her, and she did. But I will say, I do think that it's hypocritical that nobody said that Ahna was wrong for throwing the microphone because last season when Summer, Dolly, and Lex were in the club throwing things, everybody made it a big deal. But yet Ahna throws a microphone that literally knocks Summer in the head and nobody says a word. And maybe it's because it was Summer and they don't like Summer, but I just thought that was interesting. I also find it interesting that Chrisean was basically calling out Ahna. Like, she wasn't calling out Ahna for a fight, but she was definitely putting Ahna on blast for being somebody who runs her mouth on social media. And Ahna definitely did not have that energy for Chrisean. So just like you guys like to say that Dolly, Summer, and Lex pick and choose who they're going to go after, Ahna definitely picks and chooses too because she definitely went after Summer in a way that she kind of should have went after Chrisean because Chrisean was calling her out. But then Tinkerbella and Biggie start going back and forth with each other, and it was such a stupid reason. I guess Tinka kept saying that somebody smelled bad, and Biggie wanted to know who she was talking about. And I'm not gonna lie, her arguing with Tinkerbella about this made me think that it was her that was smelling bad, even though Tinka said she was just joking around. The way that Biggie reacted to it made me think that she was insecure about the way she smells. Now, after all the drama at rehearsal, Natalie decided to bring all the baddies to some stores in New York so that they can go shopping for their performances. And I thought it was funny that when they got to one of the stores, Natalie called out Smiley, telling her that she can't use her scammer card in the store, that she needs to pay in cash because she's a scammer. I thought that was really funny because I just didn't expect her to say that about Smiley, and she did. I thought that was a funny part of the episode. And I was wondering a little bit if that's the reason why Rolly decided to pay for some of the baddies' stuff, because she didn't want, somebody like Smiley to scam the store and then they had to deal with the whole scandal of that situation, because Rolly did pay for some of the baddies' clothes. Now, when Tommie finally ends up showing up to the store, Biggie's the only one that's there, and Biggie immediately ends up asking her why she wasn't at rehearsals, basically telling her that she was late and that she wants her to be on time for their performances so that they can shut the show down. And I will say, at first, Tommie did try to change the subject from her being on time to her talking about the Tavy situation and how her and Tavy got into it because she compared her to DMX. But I think Tommie really got more so annoyed at Biggie when Biggie tried to tell Tavy's side of the story to the girls that worked at the store, because Tommie was telling her side of the story about what happened. But, Biggie made sure to say that Tavy wasn't upset about being compared to DMX. She got upset and she went off on Tommie because she told her that she didn't like it, and Tommie continued to call her that. And I feel like that's what really set Tommie off, not necessarily Biggie saying that she needed to be on time. I just feel like that was the thing that she decided to yell at Biggie for. I do think that Tommie blew the whole thing out of proportion. I don't think that Biggie meant any harm by telling her that she should be on time, but I also feel like Biggie needs to know who she's talking to when she says certain things, and I just feel like Tommie's not the person to say that type of stuff to, because even if she is late, they don't care at Zeus because they're still going to keep bringing her back anyway. But I will say, based on the way that Tommie was talking to Biggie, especially in front of the other girls at the store, which Biggie was embarrassed by because she felt like Tommie was only yelling at her because the girls at the store were there. But I feel like the way that Tommie was talking to Biggie, and to be honest, we've definitely heard Tommie talk to Biggie crazy before. I feel like Tommie was never really friends with Biggie. I think she got cool with her for a moment, but I don't think that she ever really genuinely liked Biggie like that. Like, I don't think she considered Biggie a friend, but Biggie desperately wanted to be friends with Tommie, and you can tell. Now, after shopping, all the girls end up heading to the Baddies' house for a little house meeting, and Natalie's not there. Rolly's running the house meeting at this point, and she's basically going down the line of the girls. And she points to Summer and she tells her that she's proud of her behavior the last few episodes, which I was a little bit confused about because I don't feel like Summer has been on her best behavior, so I really didn't know what, Rolly was talking about. But then she went to Nunu and she started saying that she knows that Nunu can fight, but she wants, Nunu to show more of her personality because she's kind of fading into the background a little bit. I feel like you could say that about a lot of the other girls on the show too, not just Nunu. I feel like she's not the only one that's fading into the background this season. But then some of the girls decide to show some love to DJ Sky and how she handled herself when she was being attacked in the last episode, and everybody was praising her for being more professional and basically for not fighting. And Rolly said that she understood why Sky handled things the way that she did. However, she doesn't think that it's a good look for Sky to always let people slide when they put their hands on her, because then she's gonna start looking like a punk. And that's when Fauna jumps in and says that she doesn't understand why that means that Sky looks like a punk. But she did look like a punk. The way that she allowed Ahna to slap her in the face like that, and she just stood there and she did nothing, that makes it look like anybody can just walk up to her and put their hands on her because they know that she's not going to defend herself. So I understood what Rolly was trying to say. She wasn't calling Sky a punk, but she did say that she's putting the image out there that people could just do whatever they want to her and she's not going to do anything. And to me, that's not self-respect, because you don't have to be a fighter to defend yourself if somebody puts their hands on you. Now, during this conversation, Biggie ends up walking into the house and she starts telling the girls how Tommie went off on her at the store in front of the workers. And as soon as Biggie walks in and she starts telling the girls about the story of Tommie going off on her, Tommie ends up walking into the house. Tommie and Biggie start getting into this really big argument with each other. Biggie starts crying during the argument, saying that she's been there for Tommie and that she supported Tommie. And then she starts yelling for Tommie to tell the girls what she said about them, because when they were at the store and her and Biggie were arguing with each other, she said that none of the girls are stars. So she basically was shitting on the other girls on the show too. And during this argument, Biggie was crying. And honestly, I felt bad that she was crying because I just feel like she really liked Tommie and she didn't like the way that Tommie was treating her, which is basically what she was saying. And Summer starts laughing at Biggie for crying about her friendship with Tommie falling apart. And this is how I know that Summer never had a real friend before, because she did the same thing when Lex was crying over her. It's like when somebody's crying because they care about you and they don't want the friendship to end, why would you laugh or make fun of them for crying? People are allowed to have feelings. And so I just can tell that she doesn't really have real friends in her life. But as everybody's walking outside of the house because they're getting ready to leave the Baddies' house to go to their hotels, all of a sudden this car pulls up and a bunch of girls jump out and they're trying to fight the Baddies, and Tommie ends up getting in the car with those girls and driving away. So that means Tommie told these girls to come to the house and fight the Baddies. I don't know who she brought them for. Maybe for Tavy, maybe for Biggie, maybe for both Tavy and Biggie, maybe for everybody. I don't know, but I'm not surprised that Tommie did something like this. But at the end of the day, Zeus keeps bringing Tommie back, so they're going to continuously have to deal with this type of stuff. But now all the baddies are pissed, not just Biggie and Tavy, because she brought random girls to come to the house and put their hands on the other baddies, and to me that's not cool. I don't like when they bring in outsiders to put their hands on the girls on the show. I just feel like that's not safe. So I'm guessing this was the point in time in the season where the girls don't like Tommie anymore because she did something like that, and that kind of put them all in jeopardy. Even if she didn't mean for all the girls to get touched, she still brought random girls to the house to put their hands on the baddies. But these are my thoughts on this week's episode of Baddies USA. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.